Well, in Parliament this week, laws were passed aimed at balancing competing interests in an increasingly bitter row. Mining giants want access to lucrative coal seam gas reserves deep underground. But sitting on top is valuable food-producing land, and farmers fear irreparable environmental damage could be done. It all came to a head at a protest meeting on the Darling Downs this week. Kathy McLeish was there.
They can drill and they can mine over my smouldering bones. This is my prairie, this is my home.
If all else fails, if all we have left is to physically blockade them off of our fields, that's what we'll do.
And that's why the environment movement has to be standing shoulder by shoulder with farmers in this struggle.
And so, one-time enemies are now on the same side of the fence.
Environmentalists and farmers are getting closer and closer and closer together. And the term sustainability is what brings us together.
And farmers not usually noted for action-filled protests are threatening blockades.
They have the legislative authority to come on here and physically do this. But what they don't have is the community acceptance. If all else fails, we will physically keep them off. And I think that is probably our only option.
If any region goes into production, it generally ends up looking like that. Yeah. And you can see all those little lines, they all lead to wells.
Mining companies are well within their rights to explore farmland for their own benefit. But coal seam gas in this area is of great concern to farmers, landholders and now conservationists. There is a reason this area above the Great Artesian Basin sustains between $3 and $5 billion of agricultural production every year.
It's fairly unique in the way that you won't find an area this size of this soil type anywhere other than in the Ganges Delta in India. It's well known and well known to be a very high standard, and it is a completely new world for these companies to enter.
The Condamine alluvial floodplain is one of the best growing areas in the country. Its heavy clay soil lends itself to irrigation because it retains water. Until now, there has been no coal seam gas or CSG mining, as it's called, on these plains. That was until Dave Armstrong was approached by Arrow Energy to enter a voluntary agreement to sink pilot CSG wells on his farm.
That's a system that contains 6 wells and some sort of water management system. In my case, it was a 40 megalitre holding dam.
Dave Armstrong says it's an environmental gamble. CSG mining pumps water rich in salt and heavy metals from the earth, and these byproducts threaten the soil. The water can be processed to remove salt, but more often it's stored in large holding dams designed to be impervious to leakage. Dave Armstrong says there is no ironclad guarantee that dams would never leak, and on this soil, that would be disastrous.
Yes, salinity is an issue for anyone in any region. In particular, any clay soil with more than 30% clay is rendered permanently useless if this contaminated water has contact with it. They've admitted to me that that we're basically the guinea pigs for this type of land use.
And farmers say with regular flooding in the area, which could wash through storage dams, the risk of contamination is too high. The floodplains feed into the Murray-Darling catchment.
I mean, you've seen where they proposed the ring tank within 20 metres of a Blinken Creek, right in the middle of a major floodway. It has a metre of water in it when it floods. It's not low impact on an open floodplain. We've got a whole range of issues that create all sorts of problems on a floodplain.
Conservationists insist the action in this area has wider implications.
This is not just a farmers' campaign. This is a campaign for the people of Australia.
Drew Hutton, a long-time Green campaigner in Queensland, warns that precious resources must be protected.
This is the Great Artesian Basin, one of the great natural assets of this country. It's, in my view, in terms of it being a natural resource and in terms of the biodiversity that it sponsors, it's just as important as the Great Barrier Reef and Kakadu and these places.
And there are government reports that suggest as much as 500,000 megalitres of water could be pumped up from the Great Artesian Basin every year. That's the equivalent of the Sydney Harbour, and it would bring with it 2 million tonnes of salt.
Minister, hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent rehabilitating the Great Artesian Basin. With underground water use in some areas of the basin still exceeding recharge, can the government guarantee that the estimated 350,000 megalitres of groundwater to be used annually in coal seam methane gas extraction will not impact on water pressures and levels of more than 13,000 existing groundwater bores in the Surat Basin alone?
Whilst as Minister for Mines, I am very keen to see the development of the coal seam gas to LNG industry and the benefits that will bring, particularly for rural and regional Queensland, I have made it quite clear that development cannot come at any cost. Industry has a responsibility to respond to those questions. They are legitimate questions. I have decided that the Queensland Water Commission, the independent Queensland Water Commission, should be the body upon which the answers to those questions should be provided from. Well, nobody can answer that question at this point in time.
Farmers say this land is where their industry will make a stand against Queensland's $60 billion CSG mining industry. They're demanding a government-called moratorium on all CSG mining in the state until more is known.
Well, I've seen the impact west of here. You can't translocate that anywhere, west, east, north or south, and not have a major environmental conflict. I mean, it's not necessarily a fight, it's about trying to bring to view that there are other views other than expand at all costs.